It was a time when there weren't a lot of people here yet, and we want our membership to be informed about our work as an organization, and so we've decided to move our business meeting to now, just before our plenary session. It's going to be really short. We're going to present to you the information that we need to present according to our charter and bylaws. If any of you have any questions about it, I welcome you to contact me or Carson Tueller. Carson, our president, has asked me, John Gustav Rathall, the executive director, to conduct the business meeting tonight. All right. So, thanks for asking. So Carson's surgery was successful, and he is here. So we're very grateful for that, and so he is going to be speaking tonight. So thank you for your prayers and your concern, and we're very grateful, and we felt a mixture of gratitude that he's here and also worry that we don't want him to overdo it. So anyway, we're very grateful. All right, so I want to begin, first of all, by just reporting on the amendments to the charter and bylaws of Affirmation. This has been a process that's been underway actually for some years. We've been aware of aspects of our charter and bylaws that were outdated. A lot of it had to do with the way we hold elections now in the age of electronic communications and email and e-voting and so on. And so a lot of it was just kind of bringing us up to date. Some of it was had to do with the fact that, for example, in the charter that we had, our official name was Affirmation Gay and Lesbian Mormons. And since 2012, we've known that we wanted to have a name that was more inclusive. And so as of last week, when the charter and bylaws were approved by a 91% vote in favor of amending, we are now officially Affirmation LGBTQ Mormons, Families, and Friends. And there was a lot of other language in the charter and bylaws that needed to be updated so that we would be more inclusive. We also made some changes just in terms of how we've now extended the term of the president to 2 years to add a little bit of continuity in terms of the leadership. And there are other things as well. If you have any questions, please contact me. The new charter and bylaws were mailed out to all of the members and will be posted soon on our website so that everybody will be able to see them. The next thing I need to report on is our finances as an organization. And I have presented our financial reports from 2017 and our to-date financial reports and our 2017 Form 990, which is the tax returns that we're required to file with the IRS, to our board. So our board has all of our current financial records and has had a chance to review them. And I think what I want to just report to you is to let you know that last year, in 2017, Affirmation brought in over $250,000 in income. We had $257,000 in income, and most of this has gone to support our conferences throughout the world, and has also gone to hiring our first full-time staff. I've been working full-time as executive director of Affirmation since August. We have 3 full-time webmasters, one who manages our English online content, Joel McDonald, one who manages our Spanish online content, David Mans, whom you're going to hear from later this evening, and one who manages our Portuguese online content, Luis Correa. This year, let me see here. This year we To date, as of yesterday, we had brought in a total of $192,698.07. And we've spent this year $195,736. So we've been keeping up with our income with our expenses. We do have some fundraising that we need to do through this year, and you'll be hearing from me about that on our online and in our social media. And we need everybody's support. In fact, I want to remind people that we have a silent auction that's happening here at the conference, and this is an opportunity for you to acquire some art and help Affirmation meet its goals. And the goals of our organization and what we use funds for includes leadership training and development to develop a strong, resilient, unified leadership throughout the world. It includes supporting conferences. Last year we had over 20 conferences in 9 different countries, in the United States, in Mexico, in Brazil, in Dominican Republic, in Peru, in Chile, in Argentina, Colombia, in the United Kingdom. This year we are having our first ever conference in Barcelona, Spain. We've had regional conferences in the UK, and regional conferences here in the United States. And this is critical. It brings affirmation to where people live. Okay. I want to just repeat an announcement about the presidential race. Todd Richardson made an announcement yesterday that because of the timing of the new charter and bylaws, we were not able to stick to the normal schedule for elections. And also, a factor was that we were doing our conference this year a lot earlier, several months earlier than we usually do. So if you are interested in running for president of Affirmation, we opened a call for nominations yesterday evening, so it's officially opened. That will continue for 30 days until July 19th, or August 19th, rather, and then we will hold our election 30 days after that. So if you are interested in running for president of Affirmation, you need to write to our secretary. His email address is secretary@affirmation.org. We also wanted to let you know that we are planning to hold the Affirmation Conference again around this same time next year, the third weekend of July, and our hope is to do it here at the Salt Palace Convention Center. This facility is really nice, and the staff here have been incredible. And it's been a great place to organize the conference, and it's actually the cheapest venue that we've used so far in Utah. So it's a good deal for us. We're very happy here. We think Salt Lake is a great place to hold this. So that's our plan for the coming year. That's it for the business meeting, all of the announcements that I needed to make. If any of you have any questions, you can email me at john@affirmation.org. And if you have any other questions, you can also email us at contact@affirmation.org. I would now like to invite Olin Thomas to approach the stage, and he is going to announce the recipient of this year's Mortensen Award.
Hello, everyone. Each year, Affirmation presents an award to an individual member who has demonstrated outstanding leadership and service, dedication to Affirmation's goals, and who is working to achieve them and making a difference in the lives of others. We look for those who are both motivated themselves and motivating others. This award is named in honor of the first recipient, Paul Mortensen. I would like to recognize each person who has been nominated by their fellow Affirmation members with a brief description of why they were nominated. This year we had 9 nominations. Not all of the nominees are able to be with us tonight, but if you are here, when I announce your name, please stand to be recognized. Our first nominee has been involved with Affirmation for over 3 years and has helped organize 7 different conferences in 3 cities in Brazil. She travels throughout Brazil, hosting small meetings to help grow the organization, and serves as the president of Affirmation in Brazil and on the board of directors of International Affirmation. Her service to hundreds of Brazilian LGBTQ Mormons, her leadership, and her spiritual example make her an invaluable asset to Affirmation and her LGBTQ brothers and sisters. I am pleased to introduce Sandra Ruiz as the nominee for the Mortensen Award. Is Sandra here? Thank you. Our next nominee has been part of Affirmation for more than 5 years. He has served on the board for 2 years, and prior to that served as the president of Affirmation Argentina for over 2 years. He organized the first and then subsequent 4 conferences in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and has attended and spoken in conferences in Brazil, Chile, and the United States. He is now coordinating the organization and planning of multiple conferences in Latin America and the Iberian Peninsula, bringing incredible energy and talent to working with other leadership teams in an effort to make Affirmation available to people in many countries. For all his service and leadership, Zekiel Rojas is a nominee for the 2018 Mortensen Award. The next nominee has impressed others with her work to expand trauma awareness and her tireless efforts while she has worked on the Affirmation Board of Directors. Her service has influenced the course of both today's and tomorrow's Affirmation. In recognition of her service to Affirmation, I announce Laura DeLynn as a nominee for the Mortensen Award. Is Laura here too? Laura here. Hey. The fourth nominee has been one of our hardest working and most devoted board members. Much of her work has been behind the scenes, but was critical for Affirmation to accomplish many goals in recent years. She has truly modeled what it means to be an ally, contributing substantial time and resources to help ensure that we accomplish our mission and our goals. I am delighted to present to you Nika Allgood as a nominee for the Mortensen Award. This nominee is a man who has worked tirelessly the last several years to build an Affirmation affinity group to support a large group of people with specific and challenging needs, those who are fathers, gay, and LDS. The Fathers in Affirmation group has gone from no activity to a large group of 263 members with annual retreats and an active Facebook group due to the efforts of this nominee. He exemplifies the criteria used for this award to make a difference in the lives of others by not only organizing group activities, but directly counseling individuals in crisis. He doesn't just wait for them to call him for help, but proactively reaches out to the community to advertise that the health and healing that is available in Fathers in Affirmation. It is no exaggeration to say that this has saved lives and also saved families. If there is any example in Affirmation of someone leaving the 90 and 9 to reach the 1, this would be Troy Mitchell. I'm honored to announce him as a nominee for the Mortensen Award. Unfortunately, Troy is not with us this evening due to another obligation, but okay. Our next nominee is a tireless ally, a father with a trans son. He is served by recording and filming Affirmation conference events and helping to live stream Affirmation international conferences. He truly sacrifices for the good of Affirmation, contributing time, effort, and resources to see the messages of Affirmation get to those who can't be there in person. His talent of using audiovisual technology helps Affirmation connect with a broader audience and provides a record of events, which is invaluable for future generations who will tell Affirmation's story. I am pleased to announce Drew Armstrong as a nominee for the Mortensen Award. Sometimes it seems incomplete to nominate an individual for this award when he or she is a part of a couple who work seamlessly as a team. Such is the case for our next nomination. This couple have done pioneering work in MOFIA, helping to found it, lead it, and giving support to so many there. Their contribution has been exemplary for many years in an area that has never been so well served before. Ron has served on the board of directors and in other leadership roles, and they have both helped with many conferences, often in major ways, over the last 5 years. They have made musical contributions, leading music, arranging events, and participating. In warm appreciation for all they have done for this organization, I announce Ron and Sue Raines as nominees for the Mortensen Award. Our next nominee has been serving as the treasurer of Affirmation for the past 6 years, at a time when our finances ballooned from less than $50,000 a year to over $350,000 a year. He has managed the transition to filing a much more complicated tax return and managing payroll and taxes for Affirmation's first full-time employees. Due to this growth, his volunteer position has become a part-time job without pay. He keeps our books in order, ensures our taxes are accurate, provides financial statements with balance sheets, cash flows, expenses and incomes, and more on a quarterly and annual basis. He also supported our recent application for and receipt of grants and funds from other organizations. All of this is done with a humble attitude and without any compensation. Without his expertise and his unstinting contribution of time and energy, we simply could not have done what we've done in the last few years. It gives me great pleasure to announce Chuck Brown as a candidate for the Mortensen Award. And unfortunately, Chuck could not be with us tonight either, as he is in the process of moving back home in Minnesota. So wish him well. He's probably carrying a desk out the door right now. Okay. The final nominee for the Mortensen Award is the coordinator for the Portland, Oregon Affirmation Group and has served in this role for at least the past 4 years. He organizes numerous gatherings for the Portland, Oregon group and keeps them updated with news from the national organization. He was heavily involved with the Portland, Oregon Regional Conference held in January 2017, working with the conference co-chairs, Ron and Sue Raines. He puts in many hours of service in this role on top of a very demanding profession. He strives to make all feel welcome at Affirmation gatherings, regardless of their status within or without the church. In addition to his work on behalf of Affirmation, he makes a difference in the lives of others by hosting foreign exchange students in his home and through his profession of law enforcement, in which he has received the FBI Director's Award for Distinguished Service to Victims of Crime. This candidate exemplifies the spirit of Affirmation through his work in and outside of Affirmation. His positive attitude and good humor inspire many of us to do better. No one gave him a calling to lead a local Affirmation group. He saw a need and stepped up to the task. This is exactly the type of service the founders of this award had in mind when it was established over 30 years ago. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Robert Heusen, the recipient of the 2018 Mortensen Award. Robert, please come forward. Ron, come on up too. The award will be presented by last year's recipient, Ron Scow.
I love my people in Portland, and we have a great group there. So if you are in Oregon and we haven't met you yet, please meet us. We have a great group of people there. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Robert. I'd now like to ask James Kent to come and present our memorial moment.
Aloha. I bring you all warm greetings from the island of Maui. This is my favorite part of the conference. It's bittersweet because tonight we're going to remember people who had a major impact on our lives. They don't have to be gay or lesbian. They could have been parents, friends, mentors. I was just talking with Bobby a few minutes ago. A person truly is never dead as long as they're remembered. And tonight, we would like to remember a few people and then open it up to the audience. But before I do that, I want to share a few words from Jonathan Larson's musical Rent. Without you, the ground thaws, the rain falls, the grass grows. Without you, the seeds root, the flowers bloom, the children play, the stars gleam, the poets dream, the eagles fly. Without you, the earth turns, the sun burns, but I die without you. Without you, the breeze warms, the girl smiles, the cloud moves. Without you, the tides change, the boys run, the oceans crash, the crowds roar, the days soar, the babies cry. Without you, the moon glows, the river flows, but I die without you. I'm going to remember a few names, as is a custom started by John a couple years ago. If you personally knew any of these people, would you please rise and in remembrance of them? I remember Ricky Hans Gilbert, Michael Lance, Keith Campbell, Ina Mae Murray, and her partner Stella Armijo Lopez. I remember Clifford Barnes, Tom Peterson, Irwin Phelps, Ron Kershaw, Tia Owen, David Melson, Megan Howarth, Berta Marquez, Stockton Powers, Sammy Takuban, Brad Scow, It was very hard on me this year, losing my friend Tia, who was here for the last 2 conferences. And my friend Ricky, he and I go back 30 years, all the way to the beginning when I first joined Affirmation, which now represents half my life, as I am here now in my 30th conference. I don't know what happened to the time. I do miss Ricky. I'm going to close. I'm a sucker for music, musicals. Mary Chapin Carpenter sang this song, which is actually an 18th century English ballad. Fare thee well, my own true love. Farewell for a while. I'm going away, but I'll be back, though I go 10,000 miles. 10,000 miles, my own true love. 10,000 miles or more. The rocks may melt, and the seas may burn, if I should not return. Don't you see that lonesome dove sitting on an ivy tree? She's weeping for her own true love, as I shall weep for mine. Oh, come ye back, my own true love, and stay a while with me. If I had a friend all on this earth, you've been a friend to me. Me kealoha, pumehana. I love you all with all my heart. Thank you.
For conducting our business meeting. Now is the start of our Saturday evening plenary. Welcome. My name is Nika Allgood. I am a member of Affirmation's board. We have a few announcements. First, at the end of the conference, will you please return your lanyard to the registration table and we'll recycle them for next year. The silent auction will be open for a little while after the dance. But it will close tonight at 10:30. So at the end of this session, please take a moment and go look at some of the beautiful offerings in the silent auction this year. Tomorrow morning, the devotional or yoga both begin at 9 a.m. We will begin now. Our youth choir will sing This Is Me for our opening song. And then our opening reflection will be given by Nathan Kitchen, a member of Affirmation's board.
Cool. Is it on? Thank you. I would like to read a poem to help center us and prepare us for the words that we will hear tonight. Beyond Laniakea, the immense heavens, galaxies cluster by the billions, each a steward of 100,000 million stars. Each night we look into the sky but cannot comprehend a system greater than the limits of this, our earthly place. And in the morning's gentle light upon the leaf, 10 drops of dew hold molecules equal to each star that's ever been. Breathe. We are surrounded by vastness, both high and low. We look, but we cannot see. We were not born to fit this scale, to comprehend the suns or the atoms, more numerous than the grains of sand, the dust from whence we came. We are the dust sandwiched between expanses, swallowed, but yet we still feel reverence. We send our God into those places to be the understanding, to tend their own creation. They spoke into existence. And then we cluster together in love, like celestial nebulae but human, so that we are not alone in a universe of stars and quarks, calling ourselves the children of God, while cradled in Orion's arm, traveling 1,000,000 miles an hour through the immense heavens that we call home.
Thank you, Nathan. Our first speaker this evening is David Mans. David is a transgender female-to-male Mormon and a member of Affirmation who currently manages all of Affirmation's online Spanish content for Latin America. He has journeyed from Rosario, Argentina, to be with us today.
What a beautiful. You know, girls are pretty. Men. When I was 3 years old, my family and I moved out to our new home. and there was a boy about my age. He pulled out his weenie and beat a little tree in front of my house. He was like, nah, nah, you can do that, nah, nah. I felt the challenge, and I didn't like it. I took 2 steps forward, reached down, and there was nothing. He was right. I couldn't do the same, and that felt wrong. It was the first time in my life that I realized something was not right with me. I was 8 or 9 years old when I wanted to change my name. I asked my father and my sister to stop calling me by my female name. They asked me, "What name do you want to be called?" I liked Richard. I knew that was a boy's name, and I was a girl, so I couldn't be called Richard. So I kept my female name. When I was 11 years old, someone gave me a pair of pants. I put them on. They fit like a glove. My family praised me. "You look so good," they told me. I didn't have a mirror at that time, so I tried to turn around and look at myself, and I saw my butt, round and perky. My body was changing, and that was a milestone in my journey. From that point on, it was a struggle to accept myself, to love myself. That happens to every teenager, I was told. But I was very skeptical about other girls and boys feeling the same. They seemed very comfortable with their bodies, while I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I got a mirror at age 12. I tried so hard. I went to church. I did everything I was told. I went to seminary. I got my medal for young women. I went to institute on a mission. I put double efforts into every calling. Nothing changed. I felt trapped, and I didn't even know what kind of prison I was in, nor how to free myself. I got married, and I have 2 daughters. I got divorced and left the church. At 38 years old, I was alone and free, but I didn't feel free. I put a smile on my face and went outside to fight the good fight so my daughters didn't have to suffer the absence of their father. But I felt empty, trapped, and lonely, and guilty because I wasn't able to keep my daughter's father in our house. I was 38 years old when I realized that I was a man. It felt like a bucket of cold water was poured on me. My first thought was, I am wrong, but I knew I wasn't. At first, I couldn't even say I am a man to myself. I went to see a psychologist who was active in the trans community. I thought she had the experience and to tell if I was trans or not. She shared with me the experience of other trans people, and I started to understand my own feelings. She said, "Welcome to the LGBT community," and that made me so happy. But then I was forced to face my own prejudices. What does it mean to be a man? What does it take to be a man? I was told that what a man is. And when I realized that I was a man too, I found out I didn't fit in the definition of manhood. I was nothing like how a man should be. I needed a new definition, a new set of guidelines. That took time. It wasn't automatic. I was ashamed of my appearance. I am too short. My voice is so high-pitched, even now, 3 years into tea. My feet and hands are so small. My face is so round. No beard, because DNA had to screw me royalty. And one day, I sat beside a trans woman in the waiting room at the doctor. At some point in our conversation, I forgot she wasn't trans. I felt like I was with any girl I met in my life. I realized that appearance was a very small factor in gender matter. Of course, it mattered, but not in the way it mattered to me. I realized my point of view was wrong, because a man is not someone with male body parts. When a person with Winnie is born, they automatically are put into the male category. Usually, that is enough. Most men don't have to fight for their manhood. It was given to them by the people around them, and nobody ever doubted, because a boy has a penis. I think that is one of the reasons because men feel so fragile in their manhood, because they didn't have to fight for it. That is different in the LGBT community. Men, trans men, women, and trans women in the LGBT community are redefining the definition of manhood. As the trans girl who told me, without knowing, that a girl can have a penis and be as feminine as any girl, I learned I didn't need one of those to be a man. What is my definition of man? Is someone who is whole, who doesn't find his own worth in someone or something else. My definition of man is not very different from my definition of a decent human being. Just saying that I am a man, it's enough. I don't need to justify me anymore. Thank you.
Us. Our next speaker is Francisco Ruiz, who is Francisco Ruiz accepts himself as both Mormon and gay. He previously served as Senior Vice President of Affirmation Mexico. While serving as an Affirmation leader in Mexico, the country saw remarkable growth, organizing in 8 areas and training regional leaders who continually work together. He is now Affirmation's Senior Vice President. Francisco.
Exciting events of the year.
Me da mucho gusto verles.
I am so happy to see all of you.
Sé que cada uno de ustedes tiene una historia
I know that each of you has a story,
diferente, valiosa y única.
which is different, which is valuable, which is unique.
Y a mí me encantaría poder conocerlas todas.
And I would love to know each one of those.
Quiero que sepan que la planeación y organización de esta conferencia
I want you to know that the planning of this conference
se ha llevado a cabo por voluntarios que les aman,
takes place, and it happens because of volunteers who love you
y que les apoyan en su jornada individual
and who support you in your individual journey
como personas LGBTQ.
as people LGBTQ.
El estar aquí en Salt Lake en esta conferencia
Being here in Salt Lake for this conference
significa mucho para mí.
means so very much to me.
Yo viví en esta ciudad por 10 años.
I lived in this very city for 10 years,
Esa fue la última etapa de mi vida donde participé al 100% en la iglesia mormona.
and that was the very last stage of my life when I was a full participating Mormon.
Pero luego sucedieron varios eventos
But then a few events took place,
que desencadenaron un conflicto emocional
which started an emotional conflict within me,
además de eso espiritual.
as well as a spiritual
Y
conflict.
estoy seguro que ustedes saben lo que es.
I am very sure that you know what I'm talking about.
Hace 8 años yo buscaba un refugio en la manzana del templo
8 years ago, I would go to the Temple Square looking for refuge,
y buscando desesperadamente por respuestas.
and I was looking desperately for some answers.
Todo a mi alrededor en la manzana
All around me in that Temple Square
desencadenaba sentimientos y pensamientos profundos
was causing some deep and strong emotions and thoughts,
como ansiedad y desesperación.
such as anxiety and desperation.
Hasta que un día, en mis horas más oscuras,
Then one day, during one of my very darkest hours,
la respuesta vino:
the answer came.
querido hijo,
Dear son,
estoy contigo hasta el fin de tus días.
I am with you till the end of your days.
No importa lo que decidas vivir.
It doesn't matter how you wish to live.
Desde entonces, el conflicto, la angustia y la ansiedad y el dolor
Ever since then, the conflict, the anxiety, the pain
desapareció.
disappeared.
Ahora, en mi intersección como gay mormón,
Now that I have made a change into a gay Mormon,
my intersectionality as a gay Mormon. Thank you. I just wanted to hear that word, intersection.
the intersection.
Gracias, Julia, lo siento. I should say that I feel a strong connection with Julia every time she translates for me. Thank you. Ahora, en mi mente y en mi corazón,
Now, my mind and my heart
hay paz,
are full of peace,
consuelo y solaz.
comfort, solace.
Conocí Afirmación en México en el 2015,
I was introduced to Affirmation in Mexico in the year 2015.
la primera vez que participé me sentí auténtico.
For the first time in my life, I felt as an authentic person.
Me sentí en un lugar seguro.
I felt that I was in a safe place.
Por primera vez en 30 años,
For the first time in 30 years,
podía hablar de quién soy,
I was able to speak of who I really was,
qué me gusta,
what I like,
quién me gusta.
who I like.
Thank you. Y antes eso había sido para mí impensable.
Before that time, that would have been completely an impossibility for me.
Uno de los principios en afirmación dice:
One of the principles in Affirmation states,
empoderar a las personas LGBTQ
to empower LGBTQ people
para reclamar su propio camino espiritual.
so they can reclaim their own spiritual journey.
Estoy muy agradecido por eso,
I am so grateful for that
porque parte de mi camino, de mi propio camino espiritual,
because part of my spiritual journey
ha sido establecer conexiones
has been to establish connections
con el camino espiritual de otros.
with the journey, the spiritual journey of others.
Por ejemplo,
For example,
en enero me dieron esta sal del lago salado.
in January, I received this little vial with salt from Salt Lake City.
Aprendí que para algunas personas significa energía,
I learned that for some people, this means energy.
les mantiene vivos para servir a los demás
It keeps them alive and going in order to serve other people.
y es una medicina espiritual.
And it is a spiritual medicine.
Ahora también para mí es una medicina espiritual.
Now, for me also, it has become a spiritual medicine.
Cada mes uno de mis amigos
Every month, one of my friends
sirve en el templo mormón de la Ciudad de México.
serves in the Mormon temple in Mexico City.
Antes de la sesión escribe en el grupo de WhatsApp
Before the session begins, they will add the WhatsApp name in the prayer roll.
Yes, thank you. He asked us if anybody of us wants to put your name. So, gracias. Cuando pongo mi nombre en esa lista,
When I add my name to that list,
es medicina espiritual para mí.
that is also a spiritual medicine for me.
Otras conexiones espirituales que me ayudan en mi jornada,
Other spiritual medicines that have helped me through my spiritual
las
journey
he hecho o han sucedido en estos pasillos en estos 2 días.
have taken place in these very halls.
Sus sonrisas,
Your smiles,
abrazos,
your hugs,
pláticas,
the chats we've had,
historias,
the stories,
han fortalecido mi espiritualidad.
those have strengthened my spirituality.
La doctora Raquel Remen
Dr. Rachel Raymond
dice que escuchar generosamente
have stated that when we listen generously,
es una forma de comunicarnos espiritualmente con los demás.
it is really a way to connect spiritually with other people.
Ella también menciona que la comunicación espiritual lleva a la sanación.
She also has mentioned that when we connect with others spiritually, that will lead us to healing,
Más allá de la salud física.
even beyond our physical health.
Se trata de escuchar generosamente,
It is about listening generously,
con atención,
paying attention,
con interés,
being interested,
sin la intención de analizar,
without any intention to analyze,
sin juzgar,
without any judgment,
sin pensar si sabemos más que la otra persona,
without even considering if we know more than the other
si
person.
me cae bien o no la otra persona,
Do I like that person? Do I not
si
like
está
that
más
person?
educado que yo o no,
Is he or she more educated than I am?
o si yo tengo la verdad para esa persona.
Or do I have the answer for that person?
Solamente escuchamos, recibimos y respetamos
We only listen, we receive, and we respect,
y honramos su verdad.
and we honor their truth.
Eso crea un espacio seguro
And that creates a safe space
donde hay una comunicación espiritual.
where there is a spiritual
Y
communication.
cuando hay ese tipo de comunicación,
And when that kind of communication happens,
las dos personas se fortalecen.
both people are strengthened.
He aprendido también hoy
I've also learned something today,
que un factor que ayuda a sentirse satisfecho en la vida
that one of the factors that helps us to feel satisfied with our lives
es establecer conexiones
is to establish connections
y entendimiento mutuo.
and mutual understanding.
Entonces queremos sentirnos mejor o más satisfechos en nuestra vida?
So do we want to feel better or more satisfied with our lives?
Establezcamos conexiones y entendimiento mutuo.
Then let's establish connection and understanding with each other.
Este comité ejecutivo desde hace 6 meses
So the executive committee, as of 6 months ago,
comparte completamente la visión de Carson como presidente.
shares Carson's vision as a president.
Amor,
Love,
inclusión
inclusivity,
y escuchar y dar voz
listen and give voice
a todos.
to everybody.
Se me han acercado personas que han venido por primera vez a esta conferencia.
People who are here for the very first time have come and approached me.
Personas con una raza minoría.
People that are minorities, racial minorities.
Personas que no tienen ninguna relación ya con la iglesia.
Others don't have any relationships with the church.
O personas que son completamente activos en la iglesia.
Others are completely active in the church.
Unos tienen una personalidad tímida,
Some are timid.
otros más extrovertidos.
Others are more of extroverts.
Y aún personas con discapacidades.
And others are even have disabilities, physical disabilities.
Todos han expresado
Every one of them has
la
expressed
necesidad
their need
que tenemos como organización mundial ahora
that we have as a world organization
de continuar
to continue
y mejorar
to improve
con esa labor de inclusión.
with that work and that labor of inclusion.
Otras personas me han comentado
Other people have chatted with me
que hay varias cosas que no ayudan a conectarnos espiritualmente,
that there are several other things that are not helpful in our attempts to
que no nos
connect.
ayuda a sanar.
They don't help us to heal.
Entre ellos el chisme,
Among them is gossip,
el juicio,
judgment,
la crítica.
criticism.
Sin duda en estas cosas todos podemos ayudar.
No doubt all of us could improve some.
Quiero ahora practicar el escuchar generosamente
I would like to really practice how to listen generously.
y por eso me van a ayudar estas personas con su voz.
And that is the reason why some people are going to help me out.
Le van a dar voz a estas personas diversas en afirmación.
And they're going to have a voice to these diverse people in affirmation.
Ezequiel, ¿me ayudas, por favor?
que vivan, que sean felices para siempre, respetando a los demás para exigir el mismo respeto. Cuando llegué a afirmación me sentía con el corazón. Oh, lo siento. Persona de-
My name is Starling. I'm bisexual, and I'm from Dominican Republic. For me, affirmation has been more than a blessing. It has helped me to get closer to God and rediscover my spirituality. It is a beacon for me in the dark and a family where I find peace and security.
Soy Celia. Solo aquí, ok. Cuando llegué a mi afirmación me sentía con el corazón.
Daniel? No se parece.
Being judged. A place where you can talk about yourself and no one will speak badly about it. A place where you can be you. I've made friends that I want to have in my life, and it is in an incredible place to be wanted and to be forever.
My name is Alexandra. I am from Peru. I am grateful with Affirmation for being a part of this organization. I am a lesbian woman, and now I know that I am.
en esta obra de amor. Juanis, former bishop, Argentina. Salí del closet hace 6 años. Primero a mi ex esposa, familiares y líderes.
Actividad en Colombia, donde estuve este año.
This year, when we had finished an activity in Colombia,
Después de la actividad, una persona se me acercó y me dijo, aquí faltó algo.
so right after that activity, somebody approached me and said, there was something missing here.
Yo soy ateo.
I'm atheist.
Le pedí que participara en el siguiente panel porque le hice saber que su voz se necesitaba escuchar.
I let him know that his voice was important and we needed to hear it. So I invited him to participate in the panel.
Ahora él es una de las personas emocionadas para organizar.
Today, he is one of the most excited people
Para organizar la primera conferencia regional en Colombia.
in helping to organize the first regional conference
En
in
su
Colombia,
ciudad.
which is his city.
El poder de escuchar generosamente establece una conexión espiritual con las personas.
The power and willingness to listen generously really establishes a spiritual connection with other people.
Y cuando hay esa conexión, hay sanación.
And when there is that connection, then there is healing.
El lema de esta conferencia es Caminemos juntos.
So
¿El lema? Fin.
the theme of this conference is let's journey together.
A veces ese camino es difícil,
Sometimes that journey is difficult
llena de sufrimiento,
and is full of suffering,
soledad y
loneliness,
pérdida.
and loss.
Pero me gusta pensar que todos nos tenemos unos a otros,
But I would like to think that we have one another
porque tenemos cualidades únicas,
because we each have unique qualities,
sobre todo compasión.
especially compassion.
Florecer y brillar es algo que todos podemos lograr.
To blossom and to shine is something that we can all accomplish.
El preocuparnos por mejorar el mundo donde vivimos
And when we worry about improving the world in which we live,
nos hace vulnerables,
makes us vulnerable,
sujetos a la crítica,
makes us subject to
a
criticism,
la soledad,
to loneliness,
a la desilusión
and disillusionment,
y ridiculización.
and ridicule.
Que podamos recordar
I hope we can remember
las siguientes palabras, un verso y una cita.
the following words that are found in this
Voy a terminar
scripture.
con un verso y una cita.
And that's how I will end tonight.
La cita es del filósofo chino Lao Tzu.
So this is by philosopher Lao Tzu.
El ser amado
To be loved
profundamente
profoundly
por alguien
by someone
te da fortaleza,
gives you strength,
mientras que amar a alguien
while loving someone
profundamente
profoundly
te da valor.
gives you value.
Coraje. Coraje.
Korai,
Courage.
courage.
Si necesitamos fortaleza y coraje,
If we need courage and strength,
aceptemos el amor y demos el amor.
let's accept love and let us give love.
El verso dice.
It continues saying,
La escritura dice, perdón.
so the scripture says,
Estaré a tu diestra y a tu siniestra,
I will be on your right and on your left,
y mi espíritu en tu corazón
and my spirit will be in your heart
y en tu mente,
and in your mind,
y ángeles a tu alrededor
and my angels will be around you
para fortalecerte.
to strengthen you and lift you up.
Creo firmemente
I firmly believe
que afirmación nos da la oportunidad
that affirmation gives us the opportunity
para fortalecer y brillar.
to strengthen us and to shine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number by Richard Keyes, which he will announce.
Almost 100 years ago, a revolutionary musical made its debut on the Broadway stage. The first serious musical in the history that, excuse me. Wow, this is legit? This just happened. Okay. Well, I guess this is official. Evidently, this was just released by the LDS Church at their newsroom website at lds.org. Effective immediately, Democrats are welcome in the church as long as they do not act on it. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but it sounds progressive, you know, building a bridge, inclusive. I don't know. Maybe they'll have a follow-up memo or a video to clarify things. Anyway. Almost 100 years ago, a revolutionary musical made its debut on the Broadway stage. The first serious musical in a history of what was up to that point musical comedies. It was the first racially integrated musical that had both white and black actors and singers on stage at the same time. Its story of rich white people and the poor blacks serving them on a Mississippi paddle wheel included themes of racial prejudice, segregation, interracial marriage, mixed race passing for white, and other highly controversial issues at that time that forced us to look at ourselves in a different, more critical light. Showboat debuted in 1927 to critical acclaim and public praise, and its many revivals since then speak of both its excellence and, unfortunately, its still timely message. In their lives of pain, suffering, intolerance, and struggle, the blacks look to the river as their hope and inspiration to keep going. A river that, despite all that happens around it, just keeps rolling along. I'd like to play a song from that musical that reflects that hope, the classic Old Man River. Vaughn, what are you doing? This is Vaughn Larson, one of the volunteers that's helping out with the music this year. I'm right in the middle of my performance. What's going on?
So, Rich, this week, the Executive Committee of Affirmation held a business meeting where they released an official handbook. As part of that handbook, there were some guidelines and restrictions and regulations. Nothing too serious, but we've been reviewing all of the speeches and talks and workshops and the music, and you hadn't arrived yet, so I was asked to screen your piece right now. I don't think it'll be a problem. If there's a problem with it, I will be sure to stop you and we'll correct it and move on.
Well, I wouldn't think there'd be a problem. It's a classic. It's almost 100 years old.
Exactly. So just go ahead. If there's a problem, I'll stop you.
Old Man River. Old.
Under Section 37 of the new handbook, the term old could be offensive to certain demographics of the population and is therefore not acceptable. You need to replace that word with a more acceptable term that's not on the list.
Elderly. Senior. Mature. Mature. Mature man. Again, we're not even past the title. Now what?
Rich, so we pride ourselves here at Affirmation on inclusion, and the term man excludes 50% of our population.
Mature person river. That mature person river. He or she must know something, but he or she don't say nothing.
Rich, the terms somepin' and nuttin' fall under the category of lazy grammar. They're too colloquial, and they set a poor example for our children.
But something, nothing, that's how they spoke back then. That's who they really were. That's what made them authentic. Why are we taking that away from them?
I'm sorry, but it's in the handbook. Yeah. Oh, and don't say nothing is a double negative.
Mature person river, that mature person river. He or she must know something, but he or she doesn't say anything. He or she just keeps rolling. He or she keeps on rolling along.
Now you're getting it, Rich.
He or she doesn't plant potatoes. He or she doesn't plant cotton. And they that do so are soon forgotten. But mature person river, he or she just keeps rolling along. You and me.
Since you and me is the subject of the sentence, it takes the nominative rather than the objective form.
You and I, we sweat perspire and strain. Our bodies are aching and we're racked with pain. Lift that barge, tote that bale. You get a little alcoholically challenged, and you land in a 12-step program. My heart's aching, and I feel like crying. I'm tired of living, and I'm apprehensive about expiring. But my chairperson River, he or she just keeps rolling along.
Excellent job, Rich. Everybody give him a round of applause. Woo!
That wasn't quite the musical number I was expecting. Our next speaker is Carson Tueller, the president of Affirmation. Elected in 2017, Carson Tueller is currently serving as Affirmation.
Fidgety. I apologize. I'm trying to stay somewhat comfortable, and I'm like almost out of the whole anesthesia thing. So most of what I say hopefully connects. No, but I'm so happy to be here with you. This is actually the first opportunity that I've had to address Affirmation's membership in person, like all of it. And I've been president since January, and so much has happened in Affirmation. I've had the privilege of attending conferences around the world. I got to go to San Francisco and open up a new chapter with the members there. I got to attend a conference in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, and then I just kind of recently got back from London, where we held a conference. So every time I attend the conferences, I have so many feelings come up for me, including this conference, because I get to hear stories. And I get to hear stories of our LGBTQ members and their allies and their friends and their families. And I'm always just left with a sense of awe and humility at the fact that these people are the most self-aware, intelligent, beautiful human beings that I know. About 5 years ago, I attended my first conference. It was only like 8 months after my spinal cord injury. And I was asked to play a flute number at a conference because the flutist that was going to play suddenly couldn't, so I was like, sure. I was a little bit concerned about attending because I had heard several years ago that Affirmation was kind of like a church bashing group. It was kind of like North Star's evil stepsister kind of a thing. And so I had just barely come out. It had been like a year because I came out the same year that I broke my neck. It was a big year for me. And So I was in a place, like a very vulnerable space, but I was like, yeah, I'll just go play, I'll go play the flute. And I was asked to also speak about intersectionality as a queer person with a disability and what my experience had been. And so I went to some workshops and I really enjoyed myself and I felt safe and I could see that there was a space for me to figure out my journey within affirmation. I felt like I wasn't going to be pushed to the left or to the right in how I decided to live out my faith or not, and how I decided that my sexuality would be expressed or not, identify as a cisgender male, gay male. And so I started participating more. I started, speaking more, doing some workshops. I was a keynote speaker out in Florida once, and I eventually decided to run for Affirmation President last fall. And one of the things that I was so passionate about and that I really wanted to bring to the table was what Francisco mentioned a little bit earlier, which is this idea of radical inclusion. Previously, so affirmation is a wide umbrella, right? We serve an incredibly diverse group of individuals. I usually tell people who ask what I do or ask what affirmation is, I say affirmation is the intersection of anyone who identifies as queer or LGBT on the spectrum and who identifies as Mormon anywhere on the spectrum. The intersection of those two things and any variation are the people that we serve. And that comes with challenges because I've watched as some individuals might feel like the life decisions of others are personal challenges to their own life decisions if they're not the same. And especially where we're talking about some of the most personal, beautiful parts of our lives, like who we love and what we believe in and kind of like the framework under which we operate, it's easy for this to get very emotional and very difficult. So for a long time, authentic self with the world and find sacredness in both being a part of something and standing alone in the wilderness. True belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are. This is some kind of paradoxical. Oh yeah, I will totally read that one more time. Okay. True belonging is the spiritual practice of believing in and belonging to yourself so deeply that you can share your most authentic self with the world and find sacredness in both being a part of something and standing alone in the wilderness. True belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are. And we know that about authenticity and belonging. Thank you. Thank you, Brene. And so this is a little paradoxical, but this is something that we've really worked on as a leadership team and have tried to bring to our board are the principles of being able to belong to this greater group while also boldly standing in our truth, which is why I can be in the same space with my best friend who is, married to someone of the opposite sex, and she herself is gay, and she is temple attending and the most amazing person that I know and that I love, and we have different life paths, and I know that she's the most interested in me finding my man, and I fully support everything that she's doing with her life. And we sit in the same space and love each other deeply. And that, to me, is true belonging. And that's what we're working to do here in Affirmation. And it's a little bit radical. If we look at what's happening nationally and politically, this isn't really happening. We see a lot of polarization. We see a lot of side-taking and people searching for the sense of belonging by saying, you're different than me, so we can't speak the same language. That would be impossible. So you're over here and I'm over here, and let's fight for what we believe in, but we're not gonna mix. And that's a lonely space to be, and it doesn't work. We're made to connect, and that's where belonging happens. And so that's where Affirmation is going. In terms of where we've been, we've tried to find that space, and we're still trying to find it, and I think we're doing better, and I look forward to continuing to do it better. But we're really trying to change the narrative about what it means to kind of be an LGBTQ Mormon or a former Mormon. I actually had so my spinal cord injury has been probably the most informative thing that has taught me about social change, and especially has taught me about what we're doing in Affirmation in social change. Because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to change the narrative about what it means to be queer in our own circles, with the church, and then also, with the world. Like, this is a global conversation. So I've spent the last 5 years doing everything that I do with my spinal cord injury, feeling like I'm overcoming this tragedy. Like, whatever I achieve, I'm doing it out of a context of kind of like, yeah, I got screwed, my life's hard, and so I'm just gonna like be an inspiration and accomplish hard things, and it's all despite the spinal cord injury. So it's like, I'm strong for a guy in a wheelchair, or I'm traveling the world, which is amazing, for a disabled man. And I had this moment. I promise this will all tie in. This is not the anesthesia. But I had a moment when I realized that I'd been tackling all these places in my life. Like, it was hard for me to show up on dates for a while in a wheelchair because I felt embarrassed. I felt, who would want a guy in a wheelchair, right? And so I'd like tackle that, but always with the context of I'm broken. Until just, really, this was only several months ago, that I realized that I'm operating under this really gross, disempowering context of being broken. And I went through this process of saying and realizing that I've called the day that I broke my neck, jokingly with my family, and they don't think it's funny, the day of my death. It's dark, and it's a way for me to kind of like laugh and mourn something that's happened, right? And my little 13-year-old sister turned to me one day, and she said, we were just in the car, and she said, what if that's the day of your rebirth? What if that's the day of your birth? And I was like, aw, that's so cute. And that's not what happened. But it got me thinking, and I realized the only difference between that day being the day of my death or the day of my birth is that I say it was. There's no truth either way. It's not true or false either way. It is only what I say it is. I get to choose the narrative. And that day, I went on this paradigm shift of a journey that lasted like 4 hours while I was at the gym, realizing that nothing is wrong with me. So many of you know this process because you've been on the same thing, where you thought you were broken, and you realized being queer is not a problem. Being trans, being bi, being gay, being lesbian, it's not a problem. There's nothing wrong with you. we've inherited a narrative that tells us something's wrong, and it makes me angry and it breaks my heart that we've ever had to believe anything other than that we're perfect and whole. And that Carson was always meant to be paralyzed. And changing this narrative has changed my life, because I'm no longer a broken human being. And when this happens to me, when I reframed this, I realized that this is what we're trying to do in affirmation. In a larger context, we have these narratives that we share socially, that we agree on. There's an agreement about what certain things mean. And in society, we agree on it. And so for a long time, we've agreed that being LGBTQ meant a certain thing. It wasn't that long ago, maybe 100 years ago, right, that we agreed that what it meant to be a woman was a very different thing. Women couldn't vote. Ridiculous, right? And then we realized that that narrative didn't serve. It wasn't something that we wanted or we could work with, and so we changed the narrative because we could, right? And this has opened up so much for me, especially in this position as a leader, because I realize that we get to choose exactly what we want to say the experience of being queer is, and we get to decide how we want to change the narrative. We get to share this narrative with the rest of the world, which is how it becomes real, is by talking about it and sharing it. The minute that I realized that I didn't have a problem and I wasn't broken, I didn't have an accident, and that it was the day of my birth, I sent a video to my family saying, let's talk about it this way. I sent all the videos to my friends. I sent them to the people in my life who can keep that alive for me so that they can change their narrative so it becomes real. This is how it works. And this is what we're doing and what we can do. And in the church, we're also trying to change the narrative. We're trying to show up and say, actually, we've had spiritual experiences affirming that who we are is pleasing to God, that we belong in the church, that there's a place for us to worship here. And not as a consolation prize, right? Not as like, even the gay people are here. Even the trans people are here. No, there's a space for us because we have something to give that no one else can give. There's no broken context if we say there's no broken context. And so I invite all of us to be bold about saying who we are and not agreeing to those messages that are untrue, that tell us that we're something else, that tell us that we have to overcome something or that we have to fight something. There's nothing to overcome. And we get to say that unapologetically. And this is how the world changes. And I'm out to change the world. And this happens collectively. We have to do it together. And this is probably touchy for me to talk about, but for me, that's why that grant was kind of important. I have so many mixed feelings on the grant. I will not go into it, but and listening to the kids talk about the kind of messages that they hear in their head, that they've inherited from other people. I'm tired of listening to people who've spent their lives seeking this sense of wholeness. And I'm not tired for selfish reasons. I'll listen to it all day long. I'll cry with you all day long. It's because I know that there is a better truth, and we have that truth, that we're whole and perfect, and we just need to get out and share it. And that's my message to you. I love you. I am so thankful that you've supported me, and that you're here listening, that you've attended. Thank you for being here. Please continue to participate. If you have a problem with how Affirmation is being run, or if you have feedback, the kind of organization we are, I mean, you are Affirmation. Again, you decide what we are. So stay in contact with us, talk with the leadership, give us your ideas. That's how this runs. You are Affirmation. You decide how this goes and where this goes. So thank you so much for your time. I love you, and I'm humbled to serve with you and call myself your friend. So enjoy the rest of your conference.
lost. A time to talk. When a friend calls me from the road and slows his horse to a meaning walk, I don't stand still and look around on all the hills I haven't hoed and shout from where I am, "What is it?" No, not as there is a time to talk. I thrust my hoe in the mellow ground, blade up and 5 feet tall, and plod. I go up to the stone wall for a friendly visit.